do you advise Conor Burns to behave at the moment? I mean, at the moment he's complaining that he doesn't even know what the allegations are.
Well, good morning. I think it's absolutely right that Conor tweeted last night that he was going to cooperate fully with the inquiry. That's the right thing to do. I think the allegations that have come forward have been described as serious. So when serious allegations come forward, you need a serious response. That's why the Prime Minister and the Chief Whip have acted swiftly and decisively. Conor, as you rightly said at the top of the programme, is no longer sitting as a Conservative MP. He has lost his role as a Trade Minister in the government, and an inquiry will take place, and we need to wait for those findings to be concluded.
But it's very difficult, isn't it? Because whatever the conclusions are of this inquiry, it's that people go along the whole no smoke without fire line, don't they? He is tarnished, whatever the outcome.
It is the... well, the allegations that have come forward have been described as serious, so you have to take that into account. I mean, we don't know what they are, and there's speculation in the papers today, but information has obviously come to the Chief Whip, and on previous occasions, under a previous government, it might have been the case that those that were in power didn't act quickly enough and didn't take the steps that were needed to ensure that people feel as though they are protected if there are allegations that come forward. It is unfortunate that, yes, as you say, it has been made public, that Conor Burns' name is out there, but he has said that he will cooperate fully and he's determined to clear his name. But we just now need to see the investigation take place and the inquiry that the Conservative Party will conduct and wait for those findings.
And it's awfully important, then, that it happens very quickly because, I mean, if the man is innocent, it's terrible that his name is being tarnished in this way and that he's been sacked from his job. And obviously, if he is guilty of anything and he denies it utterly, then then he has to face the consequences. But it's got to be done quickly. We can't dither over this, can we?
Quite right. I mean, I think there are a number of instances that the Conservative Party are still looking into on previous occasions. It is absolutely right that I think the Prime Minister will want to have this concluded as quickly as possible, as would Conor, as would the victim or the alleged victim or those that came forward to make the complaint in the first place. But
so why has it taken so long? I mean, you mentioned there are others that are outstanding still, and we're talking about months ago.
Well, I think what the difference on this occasion is that the previous events that have taken place, other MPs, other areas of investigation that the Conservative Party are looking into, whilst you want it to be conducted swiftly, it also has to be conducted thoroughly. And it's only with a thorough investigation that you will get an outcome that can really draw a line under all of these instances.
Who would do that, Number 10 or Conservative Party headquarters?
In this particular case, my understanding, it's the Conservative Party that will be looking into the matter. So the information came to light to the Chief Whip and the Prime Minister. They've acted swiftly and decisively, and it will now be passed over to the Conservative Party to conduct that inquiry.
It is a big blow for Liz Truss, though, just because of the optics. We're fed up of talking about optics at the moment. We had it all with a mini-budget, and now with something like this. It looks, whatever else, it looks bad. It looks bad for her. It looks bad for the party. Well, there's no getting away from that, is there?
Well, it's not something you want to read about. You know, obviously, when anything you want to read about in the paper about the Conservative Party or the government, you want it to be a positive news story. You want it to be about how the Conservative Party and the government are delivering for the people of this country, and what better job that they can do versus Labour. You had Justin Madders on there talking about a number of policy areas that are just totally uncosted and unfunded. So any message that the Conservative Party and the government wants to put out, you want it to be a positive news story. This isn't. That's absolutely right, which is absolutely why it has to be conducted swiftly and thoroughly. But the Prime Minister has also got a responsibility for all of the members that are part of the party. Any member of the public that has an issue that needs to come, that wants to come forward and raise a particular point, they should feel safe to do so. And the Prime Minister has acted swiftly and decisively in this case.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, that, I mean, sleaze or allegations or implications of sleaze can bring a Prime Minister down if they're not seen to be in control. One goes back to the days of John Major when gradually, in fact, it went back to Margaret Thatcher, didn't it, at one point? Gradually, it seemed like they were losing so many ministers, it was careless. And it started to look as though the Prime Minister wasn't in control, and that's the most important thing, isn't it? A leader must be seen to be in control.
Totally, totally. And I think this is a demonstration that this is a new Prime Minister. It's obviously a break from the past. Under Boris Johnson, as I say, there were a number of issues that were that took place where I think part of his downfall was down to the fact that members of Parliament and his own party felt that he didn't act swiftly enough, or the party and the whips there didn't act swiftly enough when allegations of misconduct came forward. Liz Truss is clearly determined to ensure that anybody that falls below the standard of public life will find themselves under a subject of investigation, and that's what's happened here.
Interestingly about appearing in control, though, because Liz Truss did not seem in control when she was effectively forced by your old boss, Michael Gove, to drop the 45p tax rate reduction.
Well, I think there was a debate to be had about that particular policy. I think Michael was probably saying what a lot of people were thinking. I think, you know, if you were to ask him, he's a Conservative like everybody else. We want to cut taxes. Everybody wants to see taxes come down. I think the debate was more or less around when the time is right to do so. Look, it's no crime to want to cut tax, and it's no crime to come into office to want to get things done and go for growth, 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 as the Prime Minister has repeatedly said. But it's all a question of timing, and you've got to bring people with you. And by her own admission, you know, it was a policy that might have gone too far, too fast. She's learnt from that. There was a change of tact, you know, she left the conference hall, I think, with the full support of the membership, and will go on to lead the country in the months ahead.
What's it like to be a special advisor to somebody like Michael Gove? Does he listen? Do they listen? They're special advisors. You get this idea that they have lots of special advisors, but they're very strong personalities and very experienced on their own right. Do they really listen to you?
Well, I had a brilliant time working for Michael, but I have to say I did have the title of special advisor. But during that time, I neither felt particularly special or gave any kind of advice because he was brilliant. He's a brilliant politician. He's been in the cabinet.
Well, what did you do then?
For years. Well, I did my bit, but as I say, he's a brilliant politician. Has been in the cabinet for many years, I don't think he needed my advice at all. He's a great man.
Okay. Will he ever be
Prime Minister?
Sorry?
Will he ever be Prime Minister?
I think we've got a brilliant Prime Minister in place. There's no vacancy, and I think...
Ever?
Well, I think, you know, you'd have to ask him, but I would imagine that were there to be a vacancy, there are other people who are coming through the ranks who would probably better
He's always
place.
still there, though, isn't he?
Sir Humphrey, good to talk to you this morning.
Thank you very much.
I have to say,
I tell you what.
very good. A serious pro. Charlie, thanks very much.